This is the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. We have assembled the world's finest sports and trivia dorks to prove once and for all that we are just as bad at this as we were at sports.
Hello and welcome to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, sports trivia for those of us who rode the pine. I'm your host Josh, and today's game will be pitting the team of Benchwarmer Eric and newcomer Corey Pavlich, and Benchwarmer Mason and newcomer Joe OBrien. So welcome to the bench, Corey and Joe. Corey, why don't you take a minute to let us know where you're from, what teams you root for, and anything else you'd like to share.
I'm Corey Pavlich from Duluth, Minnesota, and obviously a Vikings Twins fan. Twins aren't doing very good for us, but it is what it is.
All right, well, welcome. And Joe, it's your turn to let us know where you're from, what teams you root for, and anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, hi, my name is Joe OBrien. I'm a born and raised Bostonian. I've been living in Northern California for the last 22 years, I think it is. But when it comes to sports, still a fan of all things Boston. When I have the time to pay attention to the Premier League, I root for Arsenal. And, I'm just really happy to be on the show and have this diversion, considering that with the Celtics being eliminated and the Red Sox basically being eliminated after 10 days, I haven't had much to divert myself. So really happy to be on the show. Looking forward to a fun game.
Awesome. Well, we're happy to have you guys. Eric, how you doing? And let us know what your and Corey's team name is going to be today.
So I have a dilemma currently. I'm trying to buy a TV, and my wife told me I can only spend like $500 on a TV. So it's either a divorce or I don't know. I don't know what the options are. Or I just buy the TV and tell her it costs $500. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. But anyway, Corey and I, we're around roughly the same age. His name's Corey, so the first thing came to my mind when I hear the name Corey is Boy Meets World. So our team name today is going to be I Miss Mr. Feeney.
All right. I Miss Mr. Feeney. Probably messed that one up a few times, but that's all right. And Mason, how you doing? And let us know what your and Joe's team name is going to be.
I'm doing well. Been casually keeping up with the postseason for MLB, so I'm glad my Braves are still in it, even though I really haven't been paying too much attention to them this year. And so our team name is inspired by the fact that we're the only two people on this recording not wearing hats. And so as a tribute to a great 80s band, we went with Men Without Hats.
So we've got I Miss Mr. Feeney versus Men Without Hats.
Is Mr. Feeney still alive?
I think so.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Quick research.
Sorry.
Yeah, he is.
We will be starting off with the tailgate to warm up the teams. This will be followed by 4 quarters of play, each with a different trivia style. The styles of quarters 1 through 3 will change from show to show, and I will explain them as we go along. Like any good sporting event, we will have a halftime show after the second quarter with entertainment questions pertaining to sports. And in the fourth quarter, our teams will wager from the points they've accumulated to see who are today's clipboard captains, to be honored like the true benchwarmers they are. All right, let's get this game underway.
And it is now time for the tailgate, consisting of 3 warm-up questions worth 10 points each. Today's tailgate has a theme, drafted in 2 different sports. I will give you the draft year and the 2 teams that selected the player. Each of these players did play for one of these teams. You simply need to name them. Question 1, 1981 San Diego Clippers and San Diego Padres.
All right, Corey, we're going to check that in.
Okay.
I Miss Mr. Feeney is checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
I don't know how much there is to talk about. Throw Tony Gwynn right away, and we haven't really gotten very far beyond that. Gwynn's definitely the right time. I have no idea if he was a good basketball player or not.
Yeah, I don't know if he played basketball. Maybe he didn't, and they just decided to take a flyer on him at the end. Because they had more rounds than they do now. So
A lot of rounds back then.
yes, they could have took a last pick, like, hey, let's go see if Tony Gwynn wants to play for us.
I like the line of thinking. Local athlete. Let's go with Gwynn.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and check in with Tony Gwynn.
Men Without Hats is checking in with Tony Gwynn, and I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys got?
So Corey threw out to me Dave Winfield, which I know he was drafted in multiple sports, but then I think that was just 81 was too late for him. Padres immediately put us at Tony Gwynn, so that's our answer.
Both teams will be getting points. The correct answer is Tony Gwynn. The Clippers selected Gwynn in the 10th round of the NBA draft in 1981. So, yeah, back when they apparently could just draft a whole slew of players.
Nice logic, Mason.
All right, moving on to question 2. 1994, New York Knicks and New York Yankees.
No, I like yours. I think we can check that in.
All right, so you guys are checked in?
We are.
Yep.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
Is that what you're thinking?
Only guy I came up with was Charlie Ward, but I don't remember. I knew he played football. I knew he played basketball. I don't remember him playing baseball.
What about Allen Houston? Is that the same time?
Yeah, but I don't think he was a baseball player either.
No.
And I know 94 is about the time that Charlie Ward was drafted by the Knicks.
Yeah, that's his Heisman. He won Heisman right around there.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I'm going to get a better name that's going to pull me off of him.
Right when he said 94 and Knicks,
Yeah.
I think it's Charlie Ward.
All right, let's go with Charlie Ward.
Time is Mr. Feeney's checking in with Charlie Ward and Men Without Hats. What do you guys got?
So we actually had kind of a similar discussion. He threw out Bernie Williams and Allen Houston. I thought like Knicks in 94 clicked with Charlie Ward. We basically had the same discussion. We didn't know if he played baseball. Maybe he did, or they took a flyer similar to Tony Gwynn, the last one. So we also checked in with Charlie Ward.
Once again, both teams will be getting points. The correct answer is Charlie Ward. The Yankees selected Ward in the 18th round of the Major League Baseball draft. He went undrafted in the NFL draft. So I couldn't have an NFL team in because he didn't get picked.
Heisman Award winner, and he got picked in baseball instead of football.
Yeah, I think probably most football teams knew that basketball was more where his career was headed anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, moving on to question 3. 2014, Cleveland Browns and San Diego Padres.
You want to go ahead and check it in?
Yeah, we'll check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in. I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
Mayfield wasn't 2014. It's got to be.
Does it have to be the same year for both sports?
It was the same year. I specifically picked people who were drafted in the same year in both of their sports.
Okay.
Because obviously there's a bunch who've been drafted in multiple, but in offsetting years.
So if we're going 2014, then it's either Gilbert or Manziel.
So Manziel makes more sense.
I think so.
I like it.
I like it too. I think we're good with it.
Yep.
All right, we're going to go with Johnny Manziel.
I miss Mr. Feeney's checking in with Johnny Manziel and Men Without Hats. How about you guys?
First thing for 2014 Browns that came to my head was Johnny Manziel, and I vaguely remember him playing baseball either in high school or maybe he did for like part of a year in college. I don't remember that part. But we also checked in with Johnny Manziel.
The correct answer is Johnny Manziel. The Padres selected him in the 28th round of the Major League Baseball draft. So an interesting one I came across. In 1984, Carl Lewis was drafted by the Chicago Bulls in the 10th round and by the Dallas Cowboys in the 12th round. He obviously didn't play for either league.
Heard the part about the Bulls. I didn't know he got drafted in the NFL too.
He did. I knew none of that until I was looking up these different athletes drafted in multiple.
Wide out in the 80s. He would have gotten crushed.
So heading into the first quarter, we have a score of 30-30.
Before we get to the first quarter, we wanted to let you know that we are on Patreon if you'd be interested in supporting us financially. Your contributions will be used to help us cover the costs that it takes to bring you the high-quality sports trivia you have come to expect from us. There's also some great perks that come with the Patreon membership to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast, including bonus episodes and Benchwarmers swag. You can find us at patreon.com/benchwarmerstp. Thanks.
So today's first quarter will be pre- and post-game.
Pre- and post-game. For this quarter, there will be 5 before and after style questions. For example, if I said, What all-time leader in receptions for the Indianapolis Colts was a Notre Dame safety drafted by the Minnesota Vikings? The answer would be Marvin Harrison Smith. Each question is worth 20 points.
Question 1. What 5-time NBA champion coached the Los Angeles Sparks to back-to-back WNBA championships and is college football's career leader in receiving yards across all divisions with 6,464 yards?
We'll check in, Josh.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
Cooper Kupp, then?
Yeah, I mean, it works. Cooper works. It's the last name. It's the first name.
Who's it? Cynthia Cooper?
No, it's a guy. I don't know his first name though. He's in the Lakers and he's basically a Laker. I think his whole career. I don't know. Pick a. It's a common first name.
Bradley Cooper.
I say just to keep on theme with our team name, I say we go with Mr. Cooper Kupp.
Hanging with Mr. Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, there you go. We can roll a dice on the first name, but it's Jim, Joe, Bill,
Dave,
Phil, Mike. Yeah, Dave works. That's fine with me.
Yeah.
I feel like I know a Dave Cooper, so let's go with it. Let's go with Dave Cooper Kupp.
I miss Mr. Feeney's checking in with Dave Cooper Kupp. And Men Without Hats, what do you guys got?
Well, Mason, I'm going to take this one if you don't mind, because I hated playing this guy in the finals as a Celtics fan. His defense was always insane. His name is Michael Cooper, so we believe it's Michael Cooper Kupp.
One team will be receiving points. The correct answer is Michael Cooper Kupp. Michael was NBA Defensive Player of the Year in 1987, and he also coached the Albuquerque Thunderbirds to an NBA G League title in 2006. Kupp set this record while playing at Eastern Washington from 2013 to 2016. Moving on to question 2. What winner of the 2020 U.S. Open was drafted by the Miami Heat in the 2011 NBA Draft with the 31st overall pick, but never played for them?
Oh, is that it, Corey?
Yeah.
He did win that? Okay, all right.
Wingfoot?
So then it's, hold on. I'm not sure. That works, right?
Yeah.
So if you're sure about the golf, he didn't say golf, sorry. If you're sure about the horse that we're talking about.
The tennis player?
Yeah, the U.S. Open of horse racing. I say we can check in.
I miss Mr. Feeney's checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
Not much to say. Narrowed it down to golf for us on the U.S. Open, but unfortunately, I don't know who won the 2020 U.S. Open in golf.
The thing is, I watched part of it. I want to say I watched like the last couple of rounds. I don't remember who won it. It was some guy that doesn't normally win, but I don't. I think it was someone that won there first, but I don't remember.
Oh! I can picture him in my head now. He's an American. I want to say his first name begins with a D.
A D?
Don't ask me why I'm saying that. It's just the first thing that bubbled up to the top.
First name starts with D.
Dave.
Daniel.
Oh, did he have a French sounding? He had a fairly long last name. Now that I'm thinking about it,
I know who you're talking about. And there's a guy with a long French last name, and I know who you're talking about. Even if we get that, I don't know if that's going to help us get the draft pick.
Well, I mean, if we get the last name, we've at least got a shot at tying together. He said didn't play with the team, so that leads me to believe this person did play in the league. So it's not a complete unknown. All we know is that he was drafted in the second round and didn't play for the Heat.
I don't think we're going to be able to get this because we can't even get either end. Once I hear this name, I'll be like, yep, that I can see him, and everything he said about his name is right, and I just don't know the name.
The tap, or you want to make something up?
Rory McIlroy Hibbert.
Men Without Hats is checking in with Rory McIlroy Hibbert, and I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys got?
Rory, you came up with the first part there.
Bryson DeChambeau John Bogdanovich.
Oh.
One team will be getting points. The correct answer is Bryson DeChambeau John Bogdanovich. Bryson is renowned for his analytical approach to golf and has acquired the nickname The Scientist. And Bogdanovich was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves and then again to the New Jersey Nets on draft night. often that first pick in the second round usually gets a foreign player drafted who isn't going to come to the league for a few years. So I thought maybe that would help you get to that point. But since you didn't have the DeChambeau to at least start thinking about maybe foreign players, that's first name started with Bo, you weren't going to get there. So
Boban Marjanovic is another Bo. There's a lot of foreign players.
There's a Bogdanovich as well.
So even if we got that, I don't know if we would have been able to get the second part.
No, I don't know. I mean, are we sure he doesn't go by Brian Deschamps?
Question 3. What American television sports journalist, who is best known for hosting ABC's Wide World of Sports, was also the hard-to-impress member of the Fierce Five at the London Olympics?
We'll check in.
Okay, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
Michaela Maroney.
Yeah, who would be the Wide World of Sports announcer? Was it from like the 80s, 70s, 40s, 30s?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anybody with the last name McKay? That's the only name I could think of that would go with Michaela.
Yeah.
But then it would be, again, the same thing coming up with somebody's first name again. Bombeck's pulling out the big guns for these questions. All right.
I didn't think this one was that difficult.
You know I don't go pre-Vietnam War. I don't know.
You might have been during the Vietnam War, honestly.
Oh, then I should know it. All right, hold on. My dad was in the Vietnam War, but we used his name before. So John, James, Joe. Pick a J name. If it's Vietnam, it's got to be John McKay.
Is it something newer, though? Could it be like Adam McKay or something? Adam McKay Maroney?
I don't know who.
He's a writer.
Is he? I mean, Wide World of Sports, when I hear that, I think of old stuff, like 60s, 70s. So, but if Adam makes sense to you, then, I mean, I'm not going to come up with something.
That works.
All right, we're going to go with Adam Michaela Maroney.
Okay, I miss Mr. Feeney's checking with Adam Michaela Maroney. Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
Well, I knew the second part because it was a famous meme that was going around. She was not impressed, and that's Michaela Maroney. And I knew the guy, something McKay, and you guys almost stumbled your way into a correct answer if you would have picked one of those J names, because his name is Jim McKay. So we checked in with Jim Michaela Maroney.
Once again, one team will be getting points. The correct answer is Jim Michaela Maroney. So Jim hosted Wide World of Sports from 1961 to 1986. So the whole stretch of the Vietnam War, yes, he was hosting.
Damn it.
And besides winning a team gold at the 2012 Olympics, Maroney won a silver medal on the vault. And that was when she got that famous picture of her looking not impressed. All right, question 4. What 3-time winner of the Daytona 500 is the only female track and field athlete to ever win 6 Olympic gold medals?
Josh, we're going to check in.
All right, I miss Mr. Feeney is checking in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
Well, we've thrown out a couple of track star names. Marion Jones came and went because I believe no matter how many she won, some or all of them were stripped. Then we talked about the joiners, FloJo, Jackie Joyner, Kersey, but we can't really find a driver that can fit into Florence or Jackie.
Maybe we try the NASCAR one and see if we hit something.
3-time Daytona winner, Waltrip.
Trip. I don't think there's a female that starts with Trip. Man, these even-numbered questions are messing with us the way the odd-numbered questions are messing with them.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing again.
Maybe Florence is a last name, so let's pick a random first name, and we'll just go with...
All right. Jeff Florence Joyner.
Sure. Fine by me.
Men Without Hats is checking in with Jeff Florence Joyner. And I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
So the only reason I knew the driver is because I've been trying my hardest to write a NASCAR question, and it's just not happening. So I've looked at the Daytona 500 list about 400 times, and I know that Bobby Allison has won 3 Daytonas, and one of my favorite track stars is Allison Felix, which I totally spaced on her name. I knew her last name was Felix, and then it just came together. So we're going with Bobby Allison Felix.
Once again, for the 4th question in a row, one team will be receiving points. The correct answer is Bobby Allison Felix. There have been 4 who won 3. That's Bobby Allison, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Gordon, and Denny Hamlin. Bobby was also the 1983 Winston Cup Series champion, and Felix, to go along with her 6 gold medals, also has 3 silver medals. So moving on to question 5. What NFL quarterback holds the record for fewest games to reach 200 touchdown passes and was a tight end drafted out of Iowa?
Oh, I got it.
That does work.
I'm ready to check in if you are.
All right, let's go ahead and check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
George Kittle went to Iowa, correct?
Yeah,
And fastest quarterback to 200, could that be Jeff George?
could be.
I don't think we're going to come up with a quarterback that works with Dallas, TJ, Noah. I think none of them are going to make more sense than George Kittle. All right, let's just go with Jeff George Kittle.
Yeah.
If you're good with it, I'm good with it.
All right, I miss Mr. Feeney's checked in with Jeff George Kittle. And Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
So Mason immediately went Noah Fant, TJ Hawkinson, who are my 2 fantasy tight ends, by the way. And then Dallas Goedert, who's the guy I just dropped to pick up Hawkinson. And then we figured out Dan Marino Fant.
Once again, one team will be receiving points. While technically it works for name-wise, Jeff George only threw 154 touchdowns in his career.
Really?
So the correct answer is Dan Marino Fant. So Fant, as well as teammate TJ Hawkinson, was drafted in the first round of the 2019 draft. Dallas Clark is the only other Hawkeye tight end to be drafted in the first round in 2003. And George Kittle was drafted in the 5th round of the 2017 draft.
Confuse my Dallases. Where did Dallas Goedert go?
Dallas Goedert went to South Dakota State University.
Yeah.
So North Dakota State quarterback passing to a South Dakota State tight end.
So after the first quarter, we no longer have a tie. I miss Mr. Feeney has 70 points, and Men Without Hats has 90 points. And that brings us to our second quarter, which will be 5-on-5.
5-on-5. For this quarter, there will be 5 categorized lists containing 5 items each, where each item is worth 10 points. The teams will attempt to guess as many items as they can. However, if a team has an incorrect guess, they will receive 0 points for that list.
All right, so list number 1. I would like you to list me the 5 NHL players with the most career playoff points.
Josh, we're going to check in.
All right, I miss Mr. Feeney is checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out. And when you're ready, let me know your answers.
All right, so we immediately both agreed that Gretzky and Messier are going to be on our list.
Yeah.
Beyond that, we've thrown out Yager, Crosby, Lemieux. I don't think Lemieux is going to make it, though, because I don't know he played long enough. He had that, Hodgkins, I think it was. He missed some time in his career. Sakic, but Sakic had great years with the Avalanche, but he also played for the Nordiques, and they never did much when he was on, I don't know how long he was a Nordique, but I know he was on the Nordiques before they became the Avalanche.
Yeah.
Got mentioned. There's also a couple of the other old Oilers that scored a lot, were Yari Curry and Glenn Anderson. I would not put Anderson on this list. I'd be tempted to put Curry on this list.
Okay.
I also don't remember exactly when they expanded the playoffs. I know it was sometime between the 70s and the 80s. The late 70s. In the mid-70s, the playoffs were not as long. There weren't as many games. So the Lafleurs, the Richards, those people I think I'm going to count out because they just wouldn't have had enough games to be on the top 5 all time at this point.
All right.
I don't know. I mean, I'm good with Gretzky and Messier. If I had to put another name on the list, I think I would be tempted by either Yager, Crosby, or Curry.
Okay.
Luke Robitaille is another one. No. It would either be Yager, Crosby, or Curry. But if we just keep our list at 2 and they get all 5, we'd be down 10. There's plenty of game to go.
Yeah. I mean, I like those 3. I feel the worst about Crosby. I just don't know if he's enough to get up there. But I mean, if you feel decent about Curry, we could put him on the list.
When did Crosby start with the Penguins? Do you remember?
I honestly don't know.
I think he's been to 4 finals. Lost to Detroit, beat Nashville, beat San Jose.
So, be quite a few points you get off of that.
Yeah, but then there's also been years like, I think it was last year and this year, although this year was weird with the bubble format, but last year they got bounced by the Islanders, was it? Or is that I don't know. They've gotten bounced early a couple times recently. Yeah. I don't know. I say we just keep it to the 2.
Okay. And just take our points and
another
question.
I'm going to be frustrated when I hear the other 3 because they're all going to be names that are bouncing around in my head, but I just can't commit to it.
Okay. So then we're going to check in with Gretzky and Messier.
All right, Men Without Hats is checking in with Gretzky and Messier, and I miss Mr. Feeney. How about you guys?
So I'm positive about the top 3, which were Gretzky, Messier, and Curry. I know Jágr was in the top 5, so we went with him as well. And the last one I was not sure of, which makes this probably why it's a good 5 list, is because most people wouldn't. But Joe, you said his name. We went also with Glenn Anderson.
So I miss Mr. Feeney. You checked in with Gretzky, Messier, Curry, Jágr, and Glenn Anderson. Everybody's receiving points. Those were the 5. So, Joe, you did mention all 5. And once again, that was Glenn Anderson, not to be confused with the GOAT, Ken Anderson.
That's right. Ken Anderson, not good on skates.
The top 4, so we're talking about, were teammates in the 1980s for the Edmonton Oilers that won 5 Stanley Cup championships. Rounding out the top 10 are number 6, Paul Coffey. Didn't he play on a number of those Oiler teams?
Yeah.
I don't think he was on all 5, but I think he was on 4 of them, maybe 3 or 4. Number 7 was Brett Hull. Number 8, Sidney Crosby. Two are tied at 9th, Doug Gilmour and Joe Sakic.
Bounced around them, but yeah.
We just couldn't commit. We couldn't.
Yeah, like I said,
when you said Curry, and then you said, they also their teammate Glenn Anderson. I was like, oh man, you've got all 5. They're right there. Okay, list number 2. I want you to name me the 5 starters for the 1999-2000 NBA champion Los Angeles Lakers.
So I just told Corey that when Josh came up with this round, that it's going to be next to impossible for me not to go for all 5 every time.
He's a gambling man.
So it's, So anyway, Josh, we're checked in.
Okay. I miss Mr. Feeney has checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
That kind of makes me want to lean towards being more cautious and just hope he crashes and burns one of the 3.
Yeah, but it's Eric. He doesn't crash and burn very often.
Were you not just with us 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, but you've already used.
We all struggle with that round, so it wasn't like you were the only one struggling with it. Okay, so basically, we're just trying to figure out the forwards on the team at that point. Kobe, Shaq, Harper, and then Rick Fox might be there, but it's.
So the names we've juggled are Rick Fox, Eldon Campbell, and who was the other one? It's too early for Odom, too early for Fisher. They're guards. I don't think Fisher's a guard.
Well, Fisher was. I think he was on the team, but I don't think he would have been starting for him at that.
Oh, Ron Harper was starting over Fisher. Ron Harper he had just come from the Bulls. I know he went from the Bulls. Oh, what about Robert Ory? He came off the bench for sure, right?
Yeah, he wouldn't have been starting for them. I don't think.
Rob. And the other name, Brian Shaw, but again, we're kind of full on guards.
Yeah,
If you feel good about the fact that Harper was a starter on this team, I say we just go Kobe, Shaq, Harper, and end it there. Because again, we're in the same boat we were last time, where we've probably got all 5 names, but we just don't know which ones to select to avoid getting 0.
Okay, so then I guess we will go ahead and check in with Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, and Ron Harper.
All right. Men Without Hats is checking with O'Neal, Bryant, and Harper. I miss Mr. Feeney. How about you guys?
Corey, go ahead and give the first 3 there, and then I'll finish that up.
We had Shaq, Kobe, Ron Harper.
And then I don't even remember who we said.
I like.
Wow. No, I knew pretty sure that Glenn Rice was there. And then I remembered that there was an old power forward that was their starting power forward. And I didn't remember his first name, hence why I asked if last names were okay. I knew it was like AJ, AC. And then Corey said he remembers an AC. So then we went with Green. I'm not going to say AC. We're just going to go with Green for the last one.
All right. Once again, everybody's getting their points. Shaquille O'Neal was the starting center. Kobe Bryant was their starting shooting guard. Glenn Rice was their starting small forward. Ron Harper, point guard. And AC Green was their starting power forward. The only other player to have more than 3 starts for them was Derek Fisher, who started 22 games. Moving on to list number 3. I want you to give me the last 5 Major League Baseball players to finish a season with a batting average greater than 375.
I'm going to leave it 100% up to you. I'm cool.
Oh, goodness.
I'm cool with the ones we have. I'm 100% fine if you say we should include that other one, or I'm 100% fine if you say we shouldn't. I can see the merits of both decisions.
Okay. Goodness. I want to screw this up. All right. We're going to go ahead and check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
I don't want to.
Well, you have to eventually give me an answer of some sort.
We only have 2.
Well, that can get you 20 points.
Yeah.
Possibly. Possibly.
Just guess 3 random names for the other 3. You got it.
Johnson, Smith, Davis.
There you go. Check in. Go for it.
I thought Ichiro did it, but now the more I think about it, I don't know that he did.
He was around 370. Like 372-ish is kind of where.
And I think Todd Helton had a very similar.
Yep.
And then we also said George Brett. But is it going to go back that far?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
This is like of a question, man, because we were doing the same thing. We're like, I think this guy, but did he make 375? It was the same.
Well, Barry Bonds is around that too.
Yeah.
He was walking like crazy. Got intentionally walked a bunch of times. I know he's right around 370.
Yeah, I think the fact that it's 375 is gonna cut a lot of them off.
Yep.
Do we go with the 2, or do we throw George Brett in there and hope that it goes back that far? And then there's also who's that Twins player? Matt's the one. Matt always. Josh, go ahead, help me with this.
Can't help you. I don't know what you're talking about. Who? The Twins?
Yeah, right.
You're talking about Marty Cordova.
Oh yes, definitely. No, the one from the Beastie Boys song with
Chuck Knobloch?
No. Rod Carew. I know he had a 380 something season, but I'm just my thing is is it going to go back that far?
Yeah, that's going back farther. Yep.
So I'll let you know what I want to do, and then I will let you decide what we do as a team. So I will let you save our score from myself. I'm fine going with the 4. Would you be Gwynn, Walker, Brett, and Killebrew?
Not, you mean Carew?
Sorry. There is a Killebrew too, right?
Yep. He's going back farther too.
All right, no, let's go with the Carew. Sorry.
Okay.
If that's what you want to do, I'm not forcing anything. We can go with the 2. We can play it safe. If you're comfortable going 4, I'm comfortable going 4.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, we're gonna go with the 4 of Carew, Brett, Walker, and Gwynn.
All right, so I miss Mr. Feeney's checking in with Carew, Brett, Gwynn, and Walker. Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
All right, well, now I'm more worried than I was before because we didn't even mention Larry Walker in this discussion. So we had Gwynn and Brett as our first 2. We added Carew. And the risk that he was talking about is that I had the inkling that, like kind of what Eric said, that 375 was such a big cutoff that there only left like a few people left. So we are taking a big risk and hoping that Ted Williams sneaks into this list. So we checked in with Gwynn, Brett, Carew, and Ted Williams.
Everybody's getting points.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I was going to bring that up too.
In 1999, Larry Walker hit 379. In 1994, Tony Gwynn hit 394. In 1980, George Brett hit 390. In 1977, Rod Carew hit 388. And in 1957, Ted Williams hit 388. So he went all the way back to 1957. So other notables, which you guys were talking about, who hit over 370. Ichiro, 372 in 2004. Nomar Garcia-Parra, 372 in 2000. Todd Helton, 372 in 2000. And Andres Galarraga, 370 in 1993.
That's why 372 was stuck in my head the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, it led the league for a couple of seasons there. So, all right, list 4. I want you to give me the 5 Minnesota Vikings with the most career regular season touchdown receptions.
All right, Josh, we're going to check in.
All right, I miss Mr. Feeney's checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out and let me know your answer.
Okay. So we went, Chris Carter, Randy Moss right away. We decided to add Kyle Rudolph to the list. And then we were struggling trying to find a 4th or a 5th. And I had a thought that maybe Anthony Carter would also be on this list. I know Chris and Anthony, I think, both played for the Eagles and both played for the Vikings, kind of at different times and together. So we checked in with Chris Carter, Anthony Carter, Randy Moss, and Kyle Rudolph.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in with Chris Carter, Randy Moss, Anthony Carter, and Kyle Rudolph. I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
We had Anthony Carter, Chris Carter, Randy Moss, and Kyle Rudolph.
So the exact same 4.
And Brad Johnson. Yeah,
Are you sure you want to add Brad Johnson to your list?
I was at that game.
Both teams will be receiving 40 points. The only player that you guys did not come up with was number 4 on the list, Sammy White, who had 50 touchdowns.
Got all about him.
So Chris Carter had 110, Randy Moss 92, Anthony Carter 52, Kyle Rudolph 48. Rounding out the top 10, Ahmad Rashad at 34, Jake Reed 33, Stephon Diggs 30, Steve Jordan 28, and Adam Thielen 28. Okay, let's move on to list number 5. So the last list of our 5-on-5. I want you to tell me the last 5 seasons that Arsenal won the Premier League.
Josh, we're going to check in.
All right, I miss Mr. Feeney has checked in. So, Men Without Hats, I guess I wish I would have known you were more a recent Arsenal fan and not maybe historical Arsenal fan, but this is what we have.
So here's the story. I started getting into the Premier League in the mid-2000s, as a matter of fact, and I picked Arsenal because they seemed most akin to the Red Sox to me. Man U and Chelsea were buying every player in sight, sometimes buying redundant players that played the same position, so they had superstars that weren't even making it onto the pitch. And that seemed very Yankees-like to me. So I just kind of glommed onto Arsenal for that reason. But that was the mid-2000s. And I know they had their perfect season in 03-04, so that's one of our answers, where they lose a match. But I don't think they've won one since then. And therefore, we're going back beyond my Premier League watching days. And I am, like I said to Mason, I am pretty sure that they won back-to-back. And I can't remember if that would be 03-04 or 04-05. But beyond that, it's just going to be a straight guess. I know Man U. I know randomly that Blackburn won in 95. And I know Man U won in the late 99 and 2000 was both Man U. Were both Man U. So, Mason, like I said, I'm 100% sure on 04. That was the year of the Invincibles.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I know that for a fact. But
for whatever reason, 1997 is tickling my brain. I've played some Sporkle quizzes where you have. Sorry if I can't mention Sporkle, but I've played.
Oh, no. It could be a sponsor. You never know.
Sporkle, come on! This podcast is ready to go orange. Where you had to name like the starting players on all the Premier League winning teams for Arsenal, and I want to say 97 was one. I'm thinking at the end of all this, I'm 04 for sure, and if you want to take a chance, since we would only be risking 10 points anyway, I would add 97 to that list, and then I'm done.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Like I said, 97 rings a bell in your head. It's 10 points.
That's why I'm doing it, is because
you probably got all 5 anyway, so 10 points is not going to make much of a difference. I'm fine with taking the risk on it. Maybe we get 20. And
all right, so we're checking in with 1997 and 2004.
All right, Man Without Hats with 97 and 04. I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
Joe, first, I want to say that if you were picking a soccer team and you wanted to be more Fenway, you should have went with the team right here, who is owned by the same company that owns the Red Sox, Fenway Sports Group. But anyway.
Bayern Munich?
Oh.
Yeah, no. Owned by John Henry and the rest of those guys.
Yeah. So anyway, Arsenal, that their undefeated season was 04. They won not the year before that, but the year before that, which would have been, was it 2002? We had 98 on there, and then I believe a couple years before they officially became Premier League was 91. So we went with 4 answers. So 04, 02, 98, and 91.
One team will be receiving points. The last 5 were 03, 04, 01, 02, 97, 98, 90, 91, and 88, 89. The other 8, so they have had a stretch where they did get some back-to-back. The other 8, this spans back to Matt era. We have the 30-31 season, the 32-33, 33-34, and 34-35, so back-to-back-to-back, 37-38, 47-48, 52-53, and 70-71. So heading into halftime, the following score, I Miss Mr. Feeney has now taken the lead. They have 290. Men Without Hats is a little bit behind at 220.
It is now time for the halftime show. There will be 5 entertainment questions pertaining to sports, with each question worth 20 points.
Today's halftime show has a theme: sports in sci-fi and fantasy movies or television. Question 1. What Hugh Jackman movie has the following plot line? In 2020, human boxers are replaced by robots.
Josh, we're going to check in.
All right, I Miss Mr. Feeney is checked in. Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
I've heard of this movie. Trailers for this movie. I'm never going to pull the name of this movie. I did not see this movie. Mason?
I can honestly say I've never heard a movie with that description.
Are we shocked, Mason?
No, we shouldn't. I'm not even shocked. Nobody should be shocked. I'm illiterate when it comes to films. Like, I'm well aware that this round is going to be pretty bad. Sci-fi, I've seen some sci-fi films, but like, I'm trying to figure out what kind of movie this, if a title for this movie that makes sense based on the description.
He, if I remember correctly, he was like the one of the old guard human boxers. You know, he was Battle.
BattleBots?
It was like that, but it wasn't. That's not the name of it, I don't think. But it,
that's it.
Clearly not it, but that's Battle. And he's talking about
it's a fun TV show.
Yeah, but I don't think it's been adapted into a movie with Hugh Jackman. Not
yet.
I hate to tap.
Is that the sequel to the movie I'm asking about? Is BattleBots?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Mason, I'm sorry, but I got nothing on this. I can see some scenes of it in my head, but I've never seen it. I don't know the name.
I don't have anything either. So let's we can come up with a robot movie name. I don't know.
Or Circuit.
I don't know. Ring of Bots.
Sure. Fine.
Hey, Men Without Hats is checking in with Ring of Bots. or Ringo bots, whichever you want to go with. It's all right.
Either way, it's trademarked now.
I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
So, I honestly, the only reason this movie came up in my life yesterday, my son came home from school, and he's in an intro to robotics class. And apparently they have to watch a movie, and he chose this movie, and the answer is Real Steel.
The correct answer is Real Steel. Jackman won the People's Choice Award for favorite action movie star for this role.
Really?
People's Choice. Let's not the Academy Awards here. It's People's Choice.
What people?
Okay, moving on to question 2. Eric might struggle with.
Oh, boy.
From the Harry Potter universe.
Oh, yeah.
What are the 4 positions in the sport of Quidditch?
I have to think about this. This is something that I think I knew at one point, but I don't. And the only reason I say that is because I know that LSU has a Quidditch team, and they do competitions. I'm trying to remember, based off of that, if I remember anything.
I'm assuming they have the same positions.
I would assume so.
So this one actually is a real sport. Well, real.
It's a sport. It's a real sport based off of a fake sport.
Correct. I thought maybe mix it up a little bit for this halftime show. Get away from Mighty Ducks.
I thank you for that, but I think we're all leaning on Mason.
Yeah,
just because I've seen the movies and I've seen the Quidditch scenes, but the positions.
So, I'm 45. I could have answered this question. Just letting you know.
This is the thing. I'm only going off of my real life Quidditch knowledge because I've never seen the movies or read the books, and I'm adamant that I will never read the books.
Wow.
I've taken a hard line stance on that.
That's bold, Cotton. That's. I think we might get 2 zeros here, apparently. Unless you're an avid fan of the Tiger Quidditch team.
Yeah, I see them on social media, but I don't get into it that much.
Wait, what?
LSU has a Quidditch team. Quidditch is a quote real sport.
Nope. Yep.
Nope.
Yep.
Now it is. It wasn't, but now it is.
Really? They can fly on brooms.
No,
they're flying on brooms.
They have to have the broom between their legs while they're running around the field.
Wait a minute.
This conversation can go so many different ways with that, Josh.
Oh my God. I didn't even think of that. Are there people broom between their legs?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to have the broom between your legs the whole time.
Yes, that's
swing their body around to hit the thing. How does this?
I have not studied enough of the actual real life Quidditch. I'm probably not going to get that deep into things.
I know for sure what I'm going to do after this for a laugh, and that's to look up real life Quidditch play.
Oh, I think it'll be entertaining.
Mason, I think you're 100% right with that one. That triggered a thought.
Yeah, when you said that, I figured out. But the problem is there's 3 more that I have to come up with.
We got 1.
Can we get 5 points for naming one?
Nope.
Okay.
Partial credit. I mean, this might be best for us just to move on from, not spend too much time on if you don't think you're going to get there. Just saying. I mean, Eric already checked out. After I read the question, he was like, "I'm out."
That's up to you, Mason. You're the only one who's got even a shot in hell of pulling these things.
I got one of them. I think is right. The other, when I hear them, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, those are them," and they make sense. But because I know how it works, I just don't know what the positions are called.
Right.
I know what they do, and the gist of it, but I don't.
Okay. Why don't we just tap out or check in with make up 3 words after that one that you said?
Okay. Well,
have you guys checked in?
Sure. Whatever.
Okay, good. But a looker. No, that's what a seeker would be.
So
a finder.
A finder, if you're seeking something, that's the same thing. But I mean, maybe there's a hider. If there's a seeker, there's a hider. I don't
Go for it.
So hider, seeker, and Finder is literally the same thing as seeker, pretty much. But I mean,
Shooter, saver.
okay, yeah. Well, yeah. So seeker, saver, finder, and I don't even remember the fourth one. Whatever the fourth one was that we said.
Man, you can't forget about the hider.
Hider,
he
yes.
said.
Hider, seeker, finder, and saver. We're gonna check in with that.
All right.
I know one of them's right, but we'll see what happens.
Men with hats is checked in with those four. I miss Mr. Feeney. Do you guys have anything to check in with?
So I'll just throw up four. You wanted four? Four things I know. Four things I know about Harry Potter. Harry Potter. It was a book. I've been to Harry Potter World, and I didn't know anything about Harry Potter World while I was there. So that's our answer.
Needless to say, there are no points awarded. Yes, Mason, seeker is one of the positions. The other three are chaser, beater, and keeper. The chasers and the keeper respectively score with and defend the goals against the quaffle. The two beaters bat the bludgers away from their teammates and towards their opponents. And the seeker locates and catches the golden snitch.
Where the hell am I right now?
Eric is ready to in a hat.
I really could have swore Eric got that question right. I'm going to protest him. I think his answer was right.
Listen, I legit went to Harry Potter World. All right, I've never seen a movie, and the entire time I was there, I had everyone's taking pictures of stuff, and I'm just my hands were literally like this the entire time. I don't know what is going on
about it. Then why did you go there?
Well, because we were at Universal, and apparently that's where I wanted to spend all day. I wanted to spend all day
in the end
at Simpsons Land.
This guy wants to go.
The only cool thing is that there's a dragon on top of one of the buildings that shoots fire, and you can literally feel it. That was it.
All right. That is the only Harry Potter question. So,
thank goodness.
When I started this with you guys, I thought the last thing that would ever come up in any of these episodes is Harry Potter.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Well, now we've hit the last thing that you could possibly think would come up.
You did say you had.
Same thing. Didn't we say the same thing about something I brought up when I hosted a game that hasn't been put out yet? You said the same thing.
Listen, you've officially been passed.
Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I mean, this is a pretty significant.
You did say you had writer's block the other day.
Right? Yes, I can see that here.
Question 3: What sport from Futurama is being discussed in the following dialogue? Leela: face it, Fry. Baseball was as boring as Mom and apple pie. That's why they jazzed it up. Fry: boring? Baseball wasn't. So they finally jazzed it up?
I don't know.
You got any more Harry Potter questions in there?
Dan would get this correct.
I'm gonna get it. I'm just drawing a blank.
So you've seen Futurama. You're familiar with it.
I do. I enjoy Futurama, but I think this is old Futurama. Not to give anything away.
Don't worry, you're not.
You could probably explain everything going on, and I still wouldn't get it.
Well, I tried to mix it up a bit. We've had a whole bunch of just normal Kevin Costner and...
You know what we haven't had enough of?
We've had more than enough Mighty Ducks questions.
The answer. Don't say it.
I've barely scratched the surface of D3, okay? This is...
Okay, you want to make a deal, Eric? No more Mighty Ducks questions, and I won't write any more sci-fi and fantasy sports questions.
All right, Josh, I think we're going to check in.
Ooh. All right, so I miss Mr. Feeney's checked in. So, Men Without Hats, I'm sure you've got a lot to discuss. What you got?
Insert crickets here.
Yeah, I think our team name should be Men Without Answers now for this round.
And we're getting bludgeoned in this round. I don't know. It makes something. So, like I said to you in the chat, I have this. I've seen maybe a half an episode of Futurama in my life, but it would seem to me that it would be some sort of, and maybe I'm conflating this with The Simpsons or Itchy and Scratchy or something. But I would think that it would be something like Death Ball or Fireball or something where it jazzes up baseball a little bit. So I don't know. Pick one that you like. It doesn't matter. These are all just nothing.
Let's go with Death Ball. I mean,
checking in with Death Ball.
All right, Men Without Hats is checking in with Death Ball, and I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys got?
It took me a minute to pull it out. Like I said, I think it was old, like maybe first couple seasons of Futurama. It was, I hope I'm saying it right. I hope it's correct. I might have it wrong, but I believe it's called Blurns Ball.
One team is getting points. The correct answer is Blurns Ball. In Blurns Ball, steroid injections are mandatory, and robots are not allowed on the field anymore. So, has anybody seen Star Wars prequels? Anybody?
Unfortunately.
Okay. Question 4. In Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, who was Anakin Skywalker's arch-rival pod racer? So, yes, I threw a curveball at you guys for this halftime.
you threw a Blurns Ball.
We can check in, Josh.
Oh, my God. Why? We should just check these in so we don't have to talk about things we don't know, man.
I miss Mr.
I just saw your
Free
answer right before you
is
checked in.
checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out. I mean, I have picked 2 of the biggest sci-fi / fantasy universes to give you questions, so...
Still past me. I told you. You already know I don't watch movies. I haven't seen this either. Fun fact. So
It's like it's obligatory to watch all the Star Wars, even if Phantom Menace was one of the ones that people railed after.
Oh, it's the worst of all of them, but...
No, not the
Yes,
worst. No,
yes.
the second one, what is it? Attack of the Clones is the worst one.
No. It's second worst.
and that was our segment on the Star Wars Trivia Podcast.
Oh, wait. Who did Natalie Portman play? Is it possible that it was her character? Wasn't it that Anakin fell in love with Natalie Portman's character and they had, Luke and Leia and all of them?
Sure. Sure. I can name characters from it. I don't think Natalie Portman played those characters, but
because I now I'm again, this is I don't know if I'm sure, but I feel like maybe they raced against each other. Whether they were rivals or not, I haven't got a clue. Our only answers that we could possibly come up with are either her character, whatever it is. What was her name? Queen Do you know her character's name by chance, Mason? Queen. Oh man, I got a lot of people screaming into their radios right now.
Maybe not. Maybe not. There might be people yelling because I've asked these questions.
I know Dan's probably yelling right now.
Oh,
So what is it? Do you know what it starts with? Maybe I can get there.
I keep wanting to say Padma, but I think I'm thinking of Padma Lakshmi from the Chef.
That's who it is. Yep, that's it. It starts. Is it something like Padma?
I think so, but I could be thinking
words that are similar to Padma. That could be in Star Wars.
This is the most entertaining part ever.
We're checking in under 15 seconds on this last one. Again.
If something doesn't come to us, we'll just check it with something and move on. Because
I don't know. The only other possible answer would be Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that doesn't ring a bell. But like, what else are we gonna say? Queen Padma. I don't care.
Sure, I'm sure.
Ugh. All right. Checked in with that. Whatever.
All right. Men Without Hats is checking in with Queen Padme.
It's all right. So let me help everybody. That's
I miss
yelling.
Mr. Feeney. What you guys got?
So it's Queen Amidala, and the other name is Padme.
Padme,
but close. But yeah. So anyway, his rival was this like weird looking dude, and his name was Sebulba.
One team getting points. The correct answer is Sebulba. He was a male Doug hailing from the mid-rim planet Malastare.
I Mason, I hope, like me, you feel perfectly fine not knowing that in life. That you took strongly through life.
That sounds like an Italian trying to talk about garlic. It's Sebulba garlic right there. That's
okay.
Sure.
All right. This one might be more gettable. Might be. In the movie The Princess Bride, what Hall of Fame football player's jersey is Fred Savage's character wearing? Haven't seen The Princess Bride?
I think we've established. Apparently, I haven't seen any movies at all. Just any films, movies, anything that would be shown on a TV or screen, I have not seen.
That makes a halftime pretty tough.
Okay, so Mason, if you have nothing else, I'm not going to get any better than that, so I'm checking in so we don't have to talk.
Amen.
Checked in, and I've got a maybe we will pull this out. I don't know.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
I don't really know.
Which do you like? I think maybe Walter Payton makes more sense. Than Gale Sayers. For the time frame, I guess. It was an early movie, was what, early 80s? And that would be Walter Payton's time frame, so I say we just go with that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go with Walter Payton.
All right, I miss Mr. Feeney's checking in with Walter Payton and Men Without Hats. What do you guys have?
Well, I think the movie was in 87, so the time frame would work for Peyton. But for whatever reason, I had an inkling that he had a Joe Namath shirt on.
One team will be getting points. He was wearing a number 34 Bears jersey. Walter Payton is the correct answer. Whew. Hey, guess what? Good news, Men Without Hats. Halftime is over.
Has anyone ever got shut out at halftime? I think we might have set a record.
I don't think so. I think that might be the first shutout in a halftime. We have had shutout in a category before.
Yes.
Josh knows that.
I know that.
I know that.
Mason knows that too.
Yeah, I'm well aware.
Although I did see from Twitter and I even tagged Scott in it, from the Backyard Brawl. There was a This Day in Sports on Twitter of Dan Marino when he was at Pitt playing against West Virginia. Talked about the Backyard Brawl. I'm like, that would have been good to have known a couple of weeks ago. I did not see that until, obviously yesterday. So heading into the second half, we have the following scores. I miss Mr. Feeney has 370, and Men Without Hats took a break during halftime. They still have 220.
We'd like to take a minute to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Benchwarmers TP. We also have a Facebook group for fans of the pod called The Bench. Join us there to comment on the latest episodes and share cool sports facts and trivia. If you'd be willing to rate and review us on iTunes or Stitcher, we'd greatly appreciate the support so that other people may find this podcast. Thanks.
Now on to the second half. Today's third quarter will be the missing link.
The Missing Link. This quarter will consist of 5 questions with theme-linked answers. The teams will attempt to answer the questions and guess the theme. Each question is worth 20 points. If a team checks in first via chat to the host with the correct theme before the 5th question, they will earn 100 points. The other team can still earn 50 points with the correct theme guess. If neither team has checked in with the correct theme before the 5th question, each team can earn 50 points with the correct answer to the theme after the 5th question.
Question 1. What 2-time Super Bowl champion finished runner-up for the 1982 Heisman Trophy to Herschel Walker?
That was my first thought.
Okay.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
I think that fits better. Right.
Want to check that in?
We'll go ahead and check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
So he said runner-up in 82. Elway, I don't believe ever won a Heisman. Drafted in 83, so the time frame works, and he won 2 Super Bowls. The only other one I could think of would be Steve Young. I know he was a runner-up. I don't remember what year, but he was drafted around that same time frame too. But I think he's only got the 1 Super Bowl. at least started as a starter. Maybe he won with Montana, but I think Elway's a better answer. I don't know. Do you have anything?
I like Elway.
All right, let's check in with John Elway.
All right, Mr. Feeney is checked in with John Elway. And Men Without Hats, what do you guys got?
First name we came up with was Marcus Allen, but then we kind of couldn't find his second Super Bowl title. And then Elway came up, and he definitely won too. And like Eric said, the time frame worked, so we also checked in with Elway.
The good news for Men Without Hats is they're getting some points.
Hey.
The bad news is Mr. Feeney is also getting points. Correct answer is John Elway. Terry Bradshaw denounced Elway, who refused to sign with the Baltimore Colts who drafted him, stating, "You should play baseball. He's not the kind of guy you win championships with." Well, until Elway's last 2 seasons, Bradshaw had been correct. Question 2. What coach who has won an NCAA championship and a Super Bowl played free safety for Pacific in the early 1970s?
We'll go ahead and check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in. I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
For the age of the coach, he would have to be around 70 right now, and I think Jimmy Johnson's too old. And the other coach to win a Super Bowl and a national championship, I believe, is Barry Switzer, who's also, he's in his 80s, so he's out of it too. And then the other one that we can come up with is Pete Carroll. However, his was, I believe, wasn't his stripped? But I don't think it would have to be him because, like I said, the other two guys are way too old.
Yeah. He's right around that age.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was that old, but no, that's...
Yeah, he's one of the older coaches.
All right. Are you good with that?
Yep.
Go ahead, check it in.
We'll check in with Pete Carroll.
All right. I miss Mr. Feeney is checked in with Pete Carroll and Men Without Hats. What do you guys got?
Yeah, we had kind of a similar process. First thing we came up was Jimmy Johnson, and we agreed Switzer was. We kind of both felt they weren't right for that. Came up with Pete Carroll. I know that he's around 70 because they had him and Belichick on Sunday Night Football, and they talked about how it was the only time in history that two coaches 68 and older coached against each other or something like that. And also Carroll is a West Coast guy more so than Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer. So we also checked in with Pete Carroll.
And the correct answer is Pete Carroll. He won 2 national championships, and I don't think either was vacated. I know that the Heisman Trophy was vacated for Reggie Bush, but I don't know if the actual championships were vacated. One of them might have been, that I don't have that information, but you guys both have the right answer, so I'm not even going to bother. Someone on Facebook can correct me if I'm not correct on that. So the other 2 you guys did mention, there are only 3 who've done it. The other 2 were Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer. Both of them played football in college at anybody?
Arkansas, right?
Arkansas. Yeah, they both played at Arkansas. So that's why I put in the clue about playing at Pacific, because obviously if you knew the other 2 and knew they played at Arkansas, then it would rule them out. And also the early 70s gave you a little bit of a age difference as well. So good job, guys. So our theme-linked answers thus far are John Elway and Pete Carroll. Moving on to question 3 in the missing link. Who is the only player in Major League Baseball history to win a batting title in 3 different decades and is one of 4 players in Major League Baseball history to accumulate 3,000 hits, 300 home runs, and a career 300 batting average?
We can check in.
I miss Mr. Feeney is checked in. So Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
The first guy that came to mind was Ted Williams, but 1, he's already been an answer in this game, which kind of makes it unlikely. And 2, there's a couple of problems with Ted Williams. 1, I seem to remember he won the batting title in 1939, and he certainly won it in 41.
Right.
As we gleaned from earlier in the quiz, he was the only guy to hit over 375 in 1957, so he must have won the batting title that year too. Did Brett win a title in the 90s? Because he had a handful of years in the 70s. Definitely won a title in the 80s. I don't think he would have won a title in the 90s, though.
I don't think so.
Boggs? No, we're asking him to win a title in the 2000s. That's not happening.
Nope.
I mean, I'm leaning Williams, but Frank Robinson, 50s, 60s, 70s. Robinson did win a Triple Crown right before Yaz did. Oh, he definitely has 300 homers.
Right.
I know he was MVP in at least 2 different decades.
Okay.
I know he won a Triple Crown in the 60s. So I can't definitively check the boxes, but I'm checking a lot of them in pencil anyway.
I'm fine with that if you feel that's better than.
I don't know. Robinson or Williams. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm going to get anything better.
Okay. Well, you can go and check it in.
We'll check in with Frank Robinson.
All right, Men Without Hats is checking in with Frank Robinson, and I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
We checked in with George Brett.
One team will be getting points. It is a repeat answer. The correct answer is George Brett. He won the batting title in 76, in 80, and in 1990. The other 3 players in the 3,300 club are Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, and Stan Musial. Ted Williams, I looked it up while you guys were discussing. He finished with 2,654 hits. You're right. His time spent in the wars definitely took him out of having enough at-bats probably to get there. Now, his rookie year was 1939. He did hit 327, but that year, Joe DiMaggio hit 381. And in 1960, his last year, he did hit 316, which was only a little bit behind Pete Runnels, who hit 320. So he actually was pretty close in 1960. All right. So our theme-linked answers thus far are John Elway, Pete Carroll, and George Brett. Moving on to question 4. In 2017, who became only the second person to be elected to the Hall of Fame as a player and win the Manager of the Year award? Note, these did not happen in the same year.
Corey, it makes sense.
Yep.
Check it in.
We'll check in.
All right, Mr. Feeney is checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
I was just typing to Mason. I wonder if the first person to do this was Frank Robinson. In 2017, Mattingly would have been managing, right? Definitely in the Hall of Fame. I don't know if he won Manager of the Year. Who would he have been? He would have been managing the Dodgers then, right?
Yes, I think so.
I'm wondering whether it was Roberts or Mattingly. Mattingly managed the Dodgers and he managed the Marlins.
Right.
I can't imagine him winning Manager of the Year for the Marlins. But if he were in charge, of the Dodgers in 2017, that would make sense. He already would have been in the Hall of Fame. He would have locked up. The other guy that's bouncing around in my head is Kirk Gibson. I can't remember when Gibson was in charge of Arizona, but I don't remember him having a lot of success with Arizona.
Yeah, Manager of the Year, I don't think so.
I don't think Dusty Baker's in the Hall of Fame, nor am I sure if he was managing in 17. I don't know when he took the Nationals job. This is Mattingly. What do you say?
I think that logic makes sense. It would be around the time that he would have still been there, but I don't know that for a fact. But I think that's a good answer at least. It's
all right. Check in with Mattingly and see if we get it.
So, Men Without Hats is checking with Don Mattingly. I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
This was all you, Corey.
We checked in with Paul Molitor.
One team is receiving points. The correct answer is Paul Molitor. And as you mentioned, Joe, Frank Robinson, who was named AL Manager of the Year in 1989 while managing Baltimore Orioles, was the first. Don Mattingly is not in the Hall of Fame. He was on the ballot from 01 to 15 and did not receive enough votes to be inducted. And in 2017, he was already with the Miami Marlins. And I don't think he's won Manager of the Year.
Yeah. I didn't even come across my radar.
Kirk Gibson, not in the Hall of Fame as well, although he did win NL Manager of the Year in 2011. Yeah, they currently are not. So I think they're both into this, probably the senior committee now, and eventually might get in. I don't know. All right, so our themed linked answers thus far are John Elway, Pete Carroll, George Brett, and Paul Molitor. Question 5. What sportscaster played wide receiver and defensive back for the North Carolina Tar Heels? He was as cool as the other side of the pillow.
You good with that, Mason?
Yep.
All right, we'll check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in. I miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
Is it Stuart Scott or Dan Patrick?
Stuart Scott always said.
Did he? Or was it, yeah, maybe it was. All right, no, I say we just keep it short and sweet. I think Stuart Scott's right.
You guys checking in with Stuart Scott?
Yeah, we'll do that.
All right, so I miss Mr. Feeney is checked in with Stuart Scott. And Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
We also said Stuart Scott.
And the correct answer is Stuart Scott. So your theme-linked answers are John Elway, Pete Carroll, George Brett, Paul Molitor, and Stuart Scott. One team has submitted a theme guest thus far, and that was I Miss Mr. Feeney. So Men Without Hats, you guys can actually talk it out and submit a theme if you possibly have one.
All right. Not that it matters. Did they submit theirs after or before the 5th?
They submitted it before the 5th question, so they could possibly get 100 points.
All right. What are you thinking, Mason? I mean, Elway, Stanford, Pete Carroll is obviously Pacific, but he mentioned that in the question, so I don't think like college in California is going to be.
Well, and Stuart Scott went to UNC. He said he went to UNC, so obviously that's out too.
Elway was drafted as a baseball player. I highly doubt Stuart Scott was, or Pete Carroll.
I'm just trying to figure out why Stuart Scott's in this list. Why he's in the list with a bunch of athletes? It must be something.
Their last names all end with a consonant.
That is true. Very true.
Just because you maybe state a true fact doesn't necessarily mean that.
Oh my gosh! I figured it out.
You did? What is it?
It's Beatles. John, Paul, George, Pete Best, and Stuart Sutcliffe. They were all members of the Beatles. I don't know why that came in my head, but John, Paul, and George. All
right. They were all members of the Beatles? Wait a minute.
At one point, because Pete Best was before Ringo Starr. And obviously, there are no athletes named Ringo, so you wouldn't include that in the list.
Right.
John, Paul, George. Pete Best was the drummer. Stuart Sutcliffe played bass, or I think before, like early on in the band.
I love it.
So if that's not it, then I found a really good connection. So we're going to check in with
Beatles,
or members of the Beatles.
All right, you're checking in with members of the Beatles, and I miss Mr. Feeney. What did you guys check in with after the 4th question?
That was yours, Corey.
We checked in with the Beatles as well.
The correct theme is they share first names with the 5 original members of the Beatles. As Mason said, it was John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, Pete Best, the original drummer, and Stuart Sutcliffe, the original bass player. After Sutcliffe left the band, that is when Paul McCartney switched over to play bass guitar. And obviously Ringo came in after Pete Best was gone. So well done, guys, on the theme. So for that, I Miss Mr. Feeney will be getting 100 points, but Men Without Hats will be getting 50 for the theme. After the 3rd quarter, we have the following scores. I Miss Mr. Feeney is at 570. Men Without Hats is at 330. And that brings us to the 4th quarter.
The 4th quarter, known as Put Your Fours Up. This quarter consists of 5 categorized questions that teams will wager up to 100 points each, not to exceed their current point total.
Today's categories is a little bit of a carryover from the 3rd quarter. The category for question 1 is yellow, in reference to uniforms. Category 2 is in submarine, in reference to baseball. Question 3 is in Abbey, in reference to soccer. Question 4 is in road, in reference to football. And question 5, 1969, in reference to basketball. It is now time for the teams to place their wagers. Now that the wagers are in, on to the questions. Question 1. In yellow. In 2015, what NFL team was the first and only team to wear all yellow jerseys for a Thursday night Color Rush game?
I'm good with that.
Okay, we're checking in.
Okay, Men Without Hats is checked in. I'm Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
So Rams were the first team. I think it was a Rams-Bucks game where they were just like all red and all yellow. And like you said, Jags. Jags makes sense, but I think it was more. I think that was technically gold. Yeah, because I can picture that too. Steelers, I don't believe would ever do all yellow.
Packers probably won't.
Packers definitely no. There'd be more of a if they were going to do it. I would suggest green in my head, but I hope they don't do that either. So I think Rams would be our best bet because especially now when they went back to their old colors too, I think that kind of maybe jump-started the fact that they wanted to go back to it.
Yep.
So
we're going to check in with the Rams for 100 points.
All right. I'm Mr. Feeney's checked in with the Rams for 100 points. And Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
So we had a very similar conversation. Mason threw out the Jaguars. I said, I don't know if I would call that yellow, that like bronzy, goldish color. And then I told him I remember the Rams were all yellow and the Bucks were all orange, red. And I felt like my TV was going to melt when the game was on. And so we went with the Rams.
Both teams will be getting points. The correct answer is the St. Louis Rams. The LA Rams wore these uniforms 4 more times over the next 4 seasons. Also, the Washington football team was originally set to wear yellow gold uniforms in 2017, but they disliked the, quote, garish yellow gold color chosen for them and opted for an all burgundy combination of their normal uniforms instead. Shortly afterwards, the NFL would announce the discontinuation of the Color Rush program. So you can either thank or blame the Washington football team for killing the Color Rush program.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Except for they had a couple bad ones, but for the most part.
I think it was the Bills-Jets game where they yelled about colorblind people couldn't tell who was playing.
Yeah. Also, we forgot to say our wager.
Oh, yes. How many points did you guys wager on that one?
We wagered 90.
90 points. So 100 points to I Miss Mr. Feeney and 90 points to Men Without Hats. Moving on to question 2 in submarine. What submarine-style pitcher led the American League in saves 5 times during his career?
If that's good with you, I'm good with that.
All right, we'll check in, Josh.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in, so I Miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
What are you thinking?
Not.
Young Kim, but he was with the Diamondbacks then.
Was he a submarine pitcher?
Yeah.
Only submarine pitcher I can remember is Dan Quisenberry, like specifically being a submarine pitcher. Other than that, okay. but I don't know. So I mean, if you like yours, I don't
know if I like it because he was in the NL.
Okay. With
the Diamondbacks for whatever. I think he played for the Red Sox or something after, but.
Yeah, I think Quisenberry was a Royal. So, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I really don't know.
I feel better about that then.
Let's go with Dan Quisenberry.
For how many points?
50.
All right, I Miss Mr. Feeney's checked in with Dan Quisenberry for 50 points. Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
I was really hoping we could make up some ground there, but we pretty quickly locked in with Dan Quisenberry.
For how many points?
90.
Well, technically, you did make up some ground because you are both correct. So you picked up 40 points on them in this round. So Dan Quisenberry is the most successful submarine-style closer in Major League Baseball history, accumulating 244 saves over his career, which is good for 38th all-time amongst closers. He has 60 more than Kent Tekulve, who is the second most for a submarine-style pitcher. Well, with Withdrawing an extra 40 points on that, we'll give you a little score update. I Miss Mr. Feeney after 2 questions in the fourth is at 720, and Men Without Hats is at 510. Moving on to question 3 in Abby. Abby Wambach, the greatest all-time goal scorer for the U.S. national team, has won how many combined FIFA Women's World Cup championships and Olympic gold medals?
So might as well check it in.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll check in.
All right, Men Without Hats is checked in. I Miss Mr. Feeney. You guys can talk it out.
What are you thinking?
I think they lost in 11, won a gold medal in 04, and they won the Olympics in 12, but not in between. Or is it, maybe she didn't play in 28. I don't know. All right, so say 2 Olympics, I think that she won, and then 1 World Cup, maybe? So 3?
Fine with me.
Yeah, I think that might be the best there. I don't know. I'm thinking I might be overlooking something, but I don't know. Let's go with 3. So we're going to go with 3 for 100 points.
Okay, I Miss Mr. Feeney is checked in with 3 for 100 points. And Men Without Hats, what do you guys have?
Well, we bet 0, so we didn't give it much thought. And I just figured 3 World Cups, 3 Olympic golds, let's say 6. Move on.
So the U.S. women's national team won the World Cup in 2015, and they won Olympic golds in 2004, 2008, and 2012. However, she missed the 2008 Olympics with a broken leg. So the correct answer is 3.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So because she was a regular on the U.S. women's national hockey team from 03 to 15. So obviously she wasn't on the most recent World Cup, and she wasn't on the 99 World Cup. But yeah, the trick kind of was that they did win 3 consecutive gold medals, but she missed the middle one. So Eric, whether you thought they just didn't win it or whatnot in the middle, you were correct. She was not on that team because of a broken leg.
I just didn't remember that Olympics. I don't know why.
Wow, that was – I don't care.
When you were talking it through, I was like, is he going to go to 4? And then when you were like, I don't think they won in between, it was like, well, or when you're like, or she wasn't on, it was like, well, yeah, there you go. Well, that widened out the lead a bit again. I Miss Mr. Feeney gained 100 points there at 820. Men Without Hats didn't cost them anything with their wager of 0, so they are still at 510. Moving on to question 4 in road. What NFL team set the record for most consecutive regular season road games won with 18 from 1988 to 1990?
I think we can check it in.
Okay, I Miss Mr. Feeney's checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out and let me know your answer and your wager.
So the first thought was the Niners. You know, I think 88, that was the years they beat the Bengals for the second time, and then I think the Giants beat them in the NFC Championship, and then the third year was when they demolished Denver, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And then, no, wait a minute. Was that the Bills lost 4 in a row, 91, 92, 93, 94, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It was right before the Bills run. So that means they would have went to the NFC Championship all 3 of the years that Josh mentioned. I was thinking maybe Giants or Redskins. They were both good at the time, but they would have had to play each other on the road.
Right. So that means that, they would have had to win they would have had to sweep road games in their division multiple years.
And I really think the Niners were doing that in their division, whereas it would have been harder to do for either of those teams.
Right. I mean, and the Eagles were not great, but they were a decent team as well in that time. So
Randall was with them, right?
Yeah, that was yeah.
So, yeah, I think I like the 49ers the best. I can't think of anybody from the AFC. I mean, Denver was good, but
yeah, I'm trying to think of
outside of Denver, I can't think of anybody else that would have been that good for those 3 years. And I don't know. I feel better about the 49ers, but I wouldn't be shocked if the Broncos ended up doing this.
Yeah. I'm fine with the 49ers. I think that makes sense to me.
Okay, we're going to check in with the 49ers.
For how many points?
Sorry, for 90 points.
Okay, Men Without Hats is checked in with the San Francisco 49ers for 90 points. And I Miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys got?
We checked in with the 49ers for 100 points.
Both teams will be getting their points. The correct answer is the San Francisco 49ers. The streak started with a win in Week 13 of the 1988 season at the San Diego Chargers, and the streak wasn't broken until Week 1 of the 1991 season when they lost to the New York Football Giants. However, if you include their victory at Soldier Field in the 1988 Conference Championship game, they actually won 19 consecutive road games. Well done, guys. Moving on to the final question. The score is 920 to 600. Just a quick little update. So this is in 1969. There were 76 NBA players who were born in 1969. Of these 76, 2 players led the 5 major statistical categories: points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. The leader in rebounds, steals, and blocks was drafted in 1989 after playing in 0 college basketball games. And the leader in points and assists, a former community college transfer, was drafted in 1993. Name these 2 players.
Just a clarification. So you're talking about leaders in terms of like all the players born in 1969.
Leaders of those 76.
Okay.
So of those players born in 1969, those 2 players led the 5 statistical career categories for all of those 76 players, not like league-wide or anything like that.
That's what I was clarifying.
Of the people born that year. I just thought it was interesting because 2 players accumulated all of those 5 categories. I thought it made an interesting question. And also the fact that one was drafted in 89 and the other not till 93.
There's way too much information in this question. I
feel like I almost have their life story here.
I got plenty of flavor text once we get to the answer.
The assist leader was the college kid or the not college kid?
The college
points and assist was the former community college transfer drafted in 93.
Yeah.
The rebound, steals, and blocks leader was drafted in 89 after playing 0 college basketball games.
We can lock it in or check it in.
All right, so I missed Mr. Feeney's checked in, so Men Without Hats, you guys can talk it out.
Oh, goodness.
Do we have to?
Maybe we don't have to, but I was trying to figure it out from like the clues based on what happened prior to them joining the NBA. But I mean, the first part, it could, like we discussed, it could either be straight out of high school, an international person, or someone that went to college, didn't play a game there, and then left after a year. But that doesn't really pin down.
Yeah, and that third storyline just doesn't ring a bell. Somebody who was like signed up to play somewhere and just never did. I mean, it certainly could have happened, but I can't think of anybody that fits that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to remember. There was another episode where we talked about the 93 would have been, so after Shaq. That's the Chris Webber draft because, yeah, I just remember that.
Oh, right. 92, he called the timeout.
Yeah, so Webber, that would be the Penny Hardaway draft, right? Because of, yeah. So they're together, but I don't think that doesn't fit for.
Why doesn't that fit for Penny? Penny went to Memphis, and he wasn't the most academically solid college student, as I remember.
Okay. Oh, yeah, well. I mean,
it's a stab, but it's at least got some validity to it.
I thought yeah. Yeah, so okay. So then maybe Penny works for the 93 one.
But then we have to get to the 89 one.
Yeah, and that's.
Steals and blocks are a weird combination of statistical categories to lead in.
So, yeah, rebound, steals, and blocks means we're looking for someone like someone that probably plays maybe the 4, like an athletic 4 kind of thing, to where you would get the rebounds and blocks and then.
Well, all right. So I can't think of high school players that came. I don't know. All right. So Moses Malone came out of high school, and I don't know that there were that many, if any. There was a long stretch of no high school players, as I recall, until you get to
the late
Garnett, those ones. So I'm leaning international versus high school.
Okay.
And, you know, international players that could have led in all these categories from people born in 1969. I don't know. I mean, I don't know when Sabonis came into the league. He would have played 0 college games. He did get steals. He didn't play a long time, though, because he was already pretty banged up by the time he got to Portland. Vlade, I don't think Vlade was stealing the ball a lot.
Yeah, don't think that.
Schrempf, I'm just throwing out names now. International guys in the 90s.
Yeah.
Sarunas Marciulionis.
I doubt it's him. I'm good with whatever on that front because, like I said, I don't really have anything for that one. At least we have something for the second one. The first one, I don't know.
I don't either. And I don't want to drag this out. It is the last question of the game, and it's been a long time for us today. So let's just roll with Sabonis. I know he got steals for a big guy.
Okay.
It's possible.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Sabonis and Hardaway checked in.
For how many points?
60, right, Mason?
Yeah, 60 points.
All right. Men Without Hats is checked in for 60 points with Hardaway and Sabonis. And I miss Mr. Feeney. What do you guys have?
So I was looking at it the wrong way from the beginning. I had the guys flipped. So I remember Sam Cassell transferred to Florida State. I believe it was from a community. I'm not sure if it was community college or not, but I know he transferred, and he was drafted in 93. And Sean Kemp, I originally had him as a community college guy, but then I remember that he bombed. His grades were just so bad that he couldn't make it into Kentucky where he was supposed to go. So he did not play any college basketball. So our answer was Sean Kemp and Sam Cassell.
For how many points?
0.
Well, one team did get it right, but they'll be getting 0 points. The correct answers are Sean Kemp and Sam Cassell. So Kemp decided to enroll at Kentucky, where he was academically ineligible to play. However, he left the team in November 1988 after he was accused of pawning 2 gold chains that had been reported stolen from his teammate, Sean Sutton, son of then Kentucky head coach Eddie Sutton. Sean Sutton didn't press charges, but Kemp transferred to Trinity Valley Community College in Texas after a semester at TVCC where he did not play. 19-year-old Kemp declared himself eligible for the 1989 draft. So Cassell, on the other hand, spent a postgraduate year at Maine Central Institute in Pittsfield, Maine, under coach Max Good. From MCI, Cassell was successfully recruited to attend DePaul University, but like Kemp, he was declared academically ineligible and ended up starting his college career at San Jacinto Community College in Houston, Texas, where he was known as a big scorer. He moved on to Florida State University to finish out his college career. So you had a guy who took a year to work on his basketball and hopefully a little bit of school, and then go to college, and you had one who just had issues. The Kemp one is a pretty well-known that he did try to go to college and had issues. So when he got drafted, he technically got drafted out of Trinity Valley Community College, even though he played 0 games for him. That brings the game to a close. Their final scores, with a respectable 540 points, Men Without Hats, and our clipboard captains of the game, who are receiving the coveted Sean Mannion Award with 920 points. I miss Mr. Feeney. Congratulations, guys. Anything you guys would like to say before we call it a day, other than trashing me for my halftime and maybe some difficult fourth quarter questions? I don't know.
Well, thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun. I'd like to come on again sometime. Eric definitely carried me there.
You had some key answers. Like I said, I'm pretty good with most of them, but I need somebody who can get those ones that I can't get in this, and you did it. So
the missing link 100 is huge. When you guys can get that, that's huge.
Yeah, like Corey, I had a blast. I hope that someday I am asked to come back on because I would love to do it again. Corey, that was a huge pull with the Beatles thing. Eric crushing those NHL Oilers in that 5-for-5 or 5-on-5 game was also huge. Remember, Mason, we had a lead early on.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. After the pre and post game, that they did not like at all.
Once hit Once we hit that point with Yari Curry and Glenn Anderson, there was no looking back for them. So great game by you guys. Mason, I'm sorry I didn't know more about, Arsenal pre-2004. And like you, know nothing about sci-fi movies and the sports contained therein. So, but again, I had a great time. And
Good.
You guys,
Glad to hear it. I can't guarantee I won't ever do sci-fi and fantasy again. You never know. Probably won't happen a lot, but it was something that hadn't been done yet, and you guys just unfortunately got the short end of the stick with being stuck with it today.
no reason to apologize. You are the quiz master, and we just follow where you take.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh, it was a good game. Outside of the pre and post game, I enjoyed it. So
I don't know what you're talking about. The other team got 3 of the 5. What is your problem?
yeah, exactly. What is my problem?
That was wild that we all got, it was 1 for each one. Nobody got to.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever seen that before either, that it went back and forth where one team got 1 every other time. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I think the George Kittle one is – I may have gotten to the right answer if I didn't immediately fall into that George Kittle, Jeff George thing.
So the reason that I didn't give more specific on the Iowa tight end is because I knew there would be – a secondary possible answer, which was the Jeff George Kittle, though it doesn't quite work because he didn't have the 200 touchdowns to begin with. But once with the pre and post, sometimes you get stuck on one.
That's what
you're like, oh, that's got to be it.
Yeah,
and it wasn't it. That happened with when I did the Torrey Hunter Henry, and the 2 teams had Ken Griffey Jr. say, because once again, you find one that works and you're kind of like, or you think it works, it's close. And you're like, that's got to be it.
Yeah.
And then it's not. So, well, thank you guys for coming on. Corey, Joe, absolutely. You guys will be invited back on. We love having guests. Hopefully you guys had a good time. Sounds like you did. And with that, I would like to say thanks for listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. And until next time, we'll keep the bench warm.
That ball hit high and deep. Stretch! Get on back there. They look up. You can put it on the board. Yes!
Into deep left center for Mitchell. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
That great music you're listening to is by Justin Nozick. Thanks to him for producing that music for us. You've been listening to the Benchwarmers Trivia Podcast. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. We are at Benchwarmers TP.
Your pre and post game is holding me back from breaking my record.
Yeah, deal with it. Sorry.